Welcome to the Milk Bottle Labs Shopify e-commerce podcast, brought to you by Milk Bottle Labs, officially Ireland's top-rated Shopify experts. Milk Bottle Labs are loved by Shopify store owners around the world and host the fastest growing Shopify meetup quarterly in Ireland's capital, Dublin. This podcast is supported by Rare.io. Rare helps Shopify store owners increase your sales with smart and personalised email marketing. Thanks for listening. Now over to your host, Keith Matthews.
Hey folks, welcome to episode 3 of the Milk Bottle Shopify e-commerce podcast, recording from the leafy suburbs of Dublin on this beautiful autumn morning. This week I'm delighted to be joined by Yoni Elbaz, founder of Lux.io, an extremely popular reviews app now installed in over 15,000 Shopify stores worldwide. We love it, we use it, and we install it on a regular basis. So just delighted to have Yoni on episode 3 of the Milk Bottle Shopify e-commerce podcast. Reviews are possibly the most important content element you can have in your store, and yet at least 50% of stores that we enter don't have this very simple and yet very powerful and valuable tool installed on their store. So let's dig a little bit deeper today with Yoni. Yoni, thanks very much for joining us on the Milk Bottle Shopify e-commerce podcast. Where I'm always fascinated by where people in the Shopify community are based. So where are you calling from?
So first of all, thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be on the podcast. I am based in Tel Aviv, Israel, the self-branded startup nation.
Yeah, it's got quite a reputation for some very successful startups. I think most cities in Europe claim to have a startup community, but certainly Israel has a growing reputation. Is there much of a Shopify community there?
So it's actually something that's being created as we speak. I've been to a Shopify meetup this week, and I'm going to another one today. So you can see how slowly it is actually gaining pace in Israel. Generally, startups in Israel, I think there are more startups per person in Israel than anywhere else in the world. We're a very entrepreneurial people. And I think that once people get exposed to Shopify, we're going to see it grow a lot more stronger here as well.
That's a valid point, actually, because I've been reading is also the home of some pretty decent VC-backed hardware startups. But with Shopify, all you need is pretty much the talent to execute. So in an environment like Israel, it should fly because it's relatively easy to get started, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, we also have, I think, the most VC money per person in the world. That's another interesting fact about Israel. And generally speaking, many Israelis get their technological experience from the army, where they work on really heavy tech. This is why Israel is famously known for really heavy tech companies around cybersecurity, financial tech, and things like that. At the same time, there are many very smart and talented people here who are entrepreneurs, but not tech people. And I think that Shopify is going to provide an excellent answer for that niche. Where people want to grow their own business and become their own bosses, but not necessarily by being someone who creates technology, but someone who's creating value in other ways.
You know, sometimes you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can actually just use, like what we do, use the existing Shopify technology to add some value. Is the government providing some decent supports for guys like you over there?
So, yes, there are a few programs by the government that provide financing to different types of startups and new companies. You also get discounts from the local municipality on certain taxes. In general, there is a lot of encouragement from the government and local authorities towards entrepreneurs. So I'd say yes.
A lot of countries kind of advertise, their relationship with startups, but a lot of governments actually don't deliver. So that's good to see that there's financing available. We've been using your app for a couple of years, and for us, it's one of the original photo reviews apps that we found in the Shopify store. But before we go into the detail of the app itself, just give us an idea of the journey that you took to get to Lux, because this is not your first startup. Sure, it's not.
It's actually my second startup. I actually started my career working for the Israeli army and government for 8 years as an intelligence officer. But that was a completely different type of experience. but it was very interesting and challenging, and I loved it. I think being an intelligence officer means you have to have a lot of ingenuity and kind of always try to oversmart and innovate in ways that help you gain an advantage. And I think that's kind of where the seed of my entrepreneurial spirit began.
Within the government, then, was there an entrepreneurial environment fostered? So you mentioned that there's a link between entrepreneurialism in the country and also then the fact that you have to also serve for the country. So within your experience then, prior to leaving government as an employee, did you experience entrepreneurialism within the government, or is it just coincidence that the experience that people get is just such high quality that people leave with ideas?
I think it's completely not a coincidence. The government and the army, especially when it gets to intelligence, is very entrepreneurial. You always need to come up with new ways to collect data, to analyze data. And this means we, as intelligence officers, always work with R&D people, finding new ways to make things happen. And the world is constantly changing. The way people communicate changes, and that requires you to always adapt and understand, where the value is and go ahead and chase it. And that's very similar to how it is in the business world.
Yeah, that's true. You confirmed exactly what I thought, which is great. So Yoni, onto the Shopify world and onto Luke's. We're amazed in Milk Bottle Labs because I would say 50% of the stores that we go into never have reviews. Now, 2 or 3 years ago, within the Shopify ecosystem, reviews apps were particularly expensive. So I always felt, as a store owner and also as a Shopify expert, that it was actually the price that was prohibiting people from actually adding reviews app onto smaller stores. Now it has changed significantly and your app is helping that. Can you just give us some indication of the reviews, the benefit of reviews in general on stores and some of the experience that you've seen with stores that have actually added your own app?
Of course. So actually, after I left working for the government, I went to work at Sears, the American retailer that just declared bankruptcy. I was a product manager there, and I got to work on lots of different products in the world of social e-commerce. And that's kind of where I got exposed to this market. And I noticed the trend of many merchants leaving the big marketplaces like Amazon and eBay and building their own brand on Shopify. And that's where I understood that these guys are going to need the same power tools that they're used to get from the marketplace for their own stores. And at the time, we, myself and my partner Moran, who I met working at Sears, we noticed that all of the review systems, while being expensive, were still stuck in the 90s. There were mainly lists of 5 stars and text. The web was becoming increasingly more visual. With experiences like Pinterest and Instagram. And it was kind of clear to us, and I think it's now clear in hindsight, seems kind of obvious, that reviews, which are probably the strongest asset you can have in social e-commerce or in user-generated content, is going to be the next big thing. So we were actually the first ones to introduce a photo review solution for Shopify stores. AliExpress, with any of the other more innovative retailers like Rent the Runway, we didn't really have to educate the market on why visuals are stronger. I think that people grasp that intuitively, but we did conduct tests and we found that with visual reviews, you can increase sales by 26% in average. And for some of the brands that we worked with earlier on, we even managed to increase their sales by 91%.
So just to be clear, Yoni, these were successful stores that had absolutely no social proof on their store. And then did you, when you are comparing the prior to the app being installed versus after the app is installed, what sort of timeline are you talking about? Are you giving it 12 months or 6 months? Or is there in some cases, is there an instantaneous uptake of traffic to the reviews area and then onto the cart, onto to create a purchase? Have you tested that?
Yeah, so we've tested that, and we've also looked into the number of reviews that certain products needs to have in order to really increase the conversion of add to cart from visitor to buyer. And we found that once you reach around 20 reviews per product, that's kind of when it gets flat, the increase in conversion. So once each product has about 20 reviews, especially if they're photo reviews, you can count on your conversion to be quite high. Of course, you want to make sure that you always have fresh content and to continue to collect more reviews because consumers care about the recency of reviews, and search engines do too, by the way. But I think that once you reach this kind of critical mass, that's where you should expect to see the increase in conversions.
That's good stuff. So Yoni, just give us some sort of an indication of the profile of Luke's. Explain to us the price, exactly what it does. You know, one of the we've had Mike Potter from Rewind on, and Mike has I'm sure you know Mike. He's a wonderful app to back up Shopify stores, and he explained to us that one of the focuses of his team was to make sure that it was a one-click install. So just give us some indication just give us an overview of Luke's, in terms of its price and in terms of its setup.
Definitely. So our basic service is just enabling merchants to automate post-purchase emails to request reviews from their customers. This means that merchants can install Luke's really with just one click and then fully customize how the emails look, their content, their timing. They can define an incentive that they're willing to offer in exchange for a photo review. And we then automate the collection of reviews and display them in beautiful widgets across the store. Our business model is a pay-as-you-grow model. This means it really depends mostly on the number of emails that you need us to send on your behalf each month. If you're just starting out, we have a basic plan that starts from $9.99 a month, which provides 100 emails. That should really be enough to start making your first sales, build credibility, and then grow your business. We then have a plan that is $24.99 that offers 500 emails per month, and we have bigger plans that offer more as well. We also include some power features in our more advanced plans that help you take advantage of reviews in many other ways, for example, by integrating them with other apps in the ecosystem.
The feature that I'm very interested in, Yoni, is earlier on I mentioned that about 50% of the stores that we manage or build or upgrade, when we go into them, if they've been built or started prior to us entering them, 50% won't have reviews. And very often clients will go through a very busy period and then they realize they read somewhere that they should add reviews, but they've lost that data. But you have an interesting feature because you can actually... Can you explain to us, you can actually go back 3 months into a store's orders and send out a review email to add it to Luke's after the fact. Can you explain how that works?
Sure, correct. So, once a merchant installs Luke's, first thing we offer them is a free, we call it bonus requests. And this just lets you send emails to all of your customers 3 months back with one click, free of charge. So it doesn't matter if you're on the basic plan or on an advanced plan. You can email all of your customers from 3 months back and start generating reviews straight out the door. So we have merchants who join Luke's and get hundreds of reviews on their second day with us. And I think that lets them basically bootstrap all of the social proof that they need to get going and provides an immediate ROI, even while you're still doing your 14-day free trial.
Effectively, you're kind of giving them 3 months free as well, aren't you? Because you're giving them the opportunity to get the benefit of the app, even though they weren't paying it for 3 months. That's a pretty big bonus. Is there a reason why you picked 3 months?
So it's not a legal issue. We did find out that requesting reviews for orders that are older than 3 months are far less effective. And the review rate that you'll get from asking a review for someone who purchased, 4 or 5 or 6 months ago is going to be very low. So we just put that limit there. Having said that, there were instances where stores reached out to us and, they requested a longer period of time, and we were happy to provide that as well.
If in your experience, there's a very low hit rate if you send out a review, 3 months after, is there an ideal time to send out that review email?
That basically depends on the type of product that you sell. If it's something that someone receives and can use immediately, for example, a piece of jewelry or a piece of clothing, then you want to make sure that you send the review request email just a few days after the package arrived. If you're selling something that might take time to use, for example, a tent for outdoor camping, then you might want to wait a couple of weeks or maybe even a month after the product arrives. We have a recently new feature, which is integrating with AfterShip, which is a package tracking solution that lets you time your review request emails according to actual delivery times. So you don't have to time it according to purchase time or fulfillment times, because we know that delivery can take various lengths depending on where you're shipping it to, if it's local, if it's international. So by integrating with AfterShip, we enable merchants to be very precise about when they're going to send this email. So again, I think it mainly depends on what kind of product you're selling. You don't want to make it too soon, obviously, because maybe the package hasn't arrived yet. And you also don't want to make it too late. As I mentioned, this will just reduce the review rate because people are not as excited as they were when they first used the product.
The timeline for the send of that, the initial outbound request for the review, I mean, you've got complete control of that in the app, haven't you?
Yes, you have complete control on when it goes out. You can set it out to X days after purchase, fulfillment, or delivery, as I just mentioned. And we also enable you to send an additional reminder email 1 week later, just in case the customer missed the email and you just want to give him like a friendly nudge and remind him, there's a nice incentive if you have your photo review. And that actually we found helps create 30% more reviews for merchants who use this feature. In addition, we also released an integration with Push Hour, which lets you collect reviews through web push notifications, which is a very effective medium. It has great click-through rates, and we found that merchants that use that also are able to generate many more reviews. And soon we'll also release integrations with SMS and Facebook Messenger solutions, again, to let merchants have more communication channels through which they can request a review.
The integrations that I'm interested in, just briefly, the three ones that stand out, Yoni, are Google Shopping, Smile, which is an app that we use a lot, and also the Instant Search and Searchinize. So can you explain the integration with Google Shopping? The reason I'm asking you about Google Shopping in particular is because it was only recently launched in Ireland and is particularly popular. So if I was to install Luke's on my store tomorrow, how does that integration with Google Shopping work?
Sure. So Google Shopping lets you display products on search results. So if someone's searching for, let's say, a blender, instead of just showing them links of websites where blenders are sold, Google actually surfaces products as search results with their photos, and you can immediately shop through that. Our integration with Google Shopping lets merchants display star ratings on top of those product listing ads, just create that social proof that people need. So if you see a search result that has 1,000 to 5-star reviews, you're much more likely to click that and purchase it. And this is what our integrations let you do. So Google has a few guidelines on, they require a minimum amount of reviews, and they want to make sure that they are of a certain quality. And if you meet those guidelines, then it's basically a super simple integration. You just copy a link from your Looks admin into your Google Merchant Center, and it just works like magic.
Is it logical to assume then, Yoni, that your integrations into Searchinize and Instant Search are simply the same visual stars on the search within the store? Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. We integrate with search apps so that you can also display the star ratings on search results on your own website. And that's just another way to increase click-through rate for your best product.
So Yoni, the one I'm really interested in, as well is Smile.io. So I suppose for listeners, Smile is a very simple loyalty app and rewards app that can be installed very quickly in a Shopify store. So how does your integration with Smile work, Yoni?
Mm-hmm. Natively, we offered the ability to incentivize customers with a discount for their next purchase. So for example, if you, Keith, buy from a store that works with Looks, we'll say, hey, Keith, hope you enjoyed your purchase. If you add a photo review, we give you 20% off your next purchase. So that's one type of incentive that really helps merchants collect lots of photos from their customers. We recently released the integration with Smile.io to provide another way to incentivize customers, and this is through loyalty points. Smile has a program that lets merchants basically reward their customers for favorable actions, and by integrating with them, we're now letting merchants also reward customers for leaving a review with a photo.
So Yoni, the integration with Smile, does that allow the customer to earn points that are automatically added to their Smile account? Is that the way it works?
Exactly. So if a merchant activates the integration with Smile, and they can define the amount of points that they want to award a customer who leaves a photo review, and then it just works, meaning the customer leaves a photo review and we notify Smile, who provides those points to that specific customer immediately.
That's extremely powerful then. So you're rewarding the customer for a review, which is going to go public, which is going to add social proof to the site. And then in addition to that, then you're actually potentially incentivizing the customer to come back and make a repeat purchase at some point to spend their Smile rewards. So you're actually creating a kind of a customer loop, and you're increasing then the propensity for that customer to come back and make a repeat purchase. That's probably the ideal situation for most store owners, Yoni, isn't it? To sell something to a customer and then pretty much guarantee they're going to come back.
That's right. I think intuitively everyone understands that reviews increase conversions on the website. But as you mentioned, if you build your reviews solution correctly, you can also increase retention. And we all know that retaining an existing customer is much cheaper than acquiring a new one. And we see north of 30% redemption rate for discounts provided by Looks, meaning when you provide someone with a discount, they're very likely to return and shop again with your brand. Certainly, since we're talking about happy customers, and these are the guys you really want to keep closer and build your community and your brand with.
Yeah, it's very powerful stuff, Yoni. And I'm assuming that you've got more integrations planned. There seems to be. It's again, it's a reflection on the Shopify community. The amount of apps that are integrating with each other to help each other, and then which in turn helps the merchant and the store owner sell more within the Shopify community is just phenomenal. It's a win-win for everybody, which is great. Yoni, you're very familiar, I'm sure, with Bjorn in Fjordsbook Plus 2. He has the famous orderly print app. We recently interviewed Bjorn, and he gave us an insight into his structure. So in terms of a team and in terms of support, what kind of structure do you have back in the office to support requests? Because I'm interested that you have a translation facility in English, Spanish, French, German, Portuguese, Russian, Turkish, and Dutch. And the first thing that comes to mind is that you're crossing a lot of time zones. So with 15,000 users, is that a challenge for the support team, or do you have 24/7 support? Can you just give us some sort of an insight into how you handle that?
So I certainly know Bjorn. He's a great guy. I just met him at Shopify Pursuit in Berlin, where he gave a masterclass, which was incredible. We too prioritize support as the most important aspect in the company. Customers are everything, and we do our best to get back to every support request within no more than 24 hours. We have an in-house support team that works 7 days a week, answering all customer questions. And we prioritize development tasks, which are fixes or requests from customers, far higher than other ideas that we have. So I think this is key for success in the Shopify ecosystem, because many of the merchants, they don't necessarily have the technical knowledge of how to edit the code or how to set up certain features. So we want to make sure that we're always there for them, providing them a quick and effective support channel. In addition, we also have a knowledge base with guides, which are very simple, including videos on how to perform almost every action in Looks. And we keep on updating and improving it all of the time. So
Yoni, you recently launched a pop-up which will appear on the front of the Shopify store after a customer has left a review, which is extremely interesting. Can you just explain how that works?
Certainly. So we recently launched the Looks pop-up, which is a new way to surface social proof while customers are browsing the store. It is basically a small pop-up that appears on one of the corners in your store, displaying relevant reviews according to the page that the customer is currently browsing. So the idea is we built it in a context-aware way that always tries to kind of push the customer down the conversion funnel. When you're on the homepage, we'll surface reviews from different products in the store and try to get the customer to move to a specific product page. On that product page, we'll always surface reviews related to that specific product to build strong trust quickly and get that person to add the item to the cart. And on the cart page, we'll only display reviews related to the items in the cart to get the customers to check out. We released this just over a week ago, and there are already 1,000 stores using the Looks pop-up. I'm super excited about this feature, and I think we couldn't have expected such great success so quickly with it.
It seems, I suppose, in hindsight, as a very obvious feature, given the growth of the pop-ups that simply show that, a certain user has ordered a certain product in a certain location, which is very powerful. For that particular feature, Yoni, do you provide a separate set of analytics then for clicks or views of that particular pop-up? I'm assuming you do.
So we are a very lean company, meaning we want to move fast and experiment before we double down on any of the features that we build. So we released the pop-up, first of all, to receive reactions from the market, to understand if this is something that people would be interested in, and to just collect their feedback. So one of the main points that came up is that people actually want to see the analytics of it, and it's something that we're currently working on, and I expect us to have it ready quite soon.
Yoni, it's been wonderful to talk to you, and it's been wonderful to follow you guys over the last couple of years. So before we go, is there anything exciting in the future for Looks that we can be excited about, or we can wait for?
Oh, there is a lot. So we actually just moved into a new office here in Tel Aviv that will enable us to expand the team from 8 to 20, and we're going to do that over the next few months. We have a lot in store. We're looking into turning Looks into a more powerful way to market yourself to your happy customers. And we have a few very innovative ideas that we're already planning and kicking off to let you really leverage the happiness of your customers to increase sales and to build your brand and community. So I think 2019 is going to be an even more exciting year for us, and hopefully we can continue to help merchants on Shopify and our amazing partners like Bottle Labs continue to grow and strive as well.
That's great. Yoni, we're looking forward to the new features and looking forward to watching the rest of your journey. It was an absolute pleasure to have you today. Yoni, chances are we'll probably meet at the next Shopify event. So take care, and thank you very, very much for your time.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to episode 3 of the Milk Bottle Shopify e-commerce podcast. You can check out the Looks app on the Shopify App Store or on looks.io. Until next time, take care.